Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comics Evolve, where we discuss all things around comics media culture with your hosts, Andy, Jarian, and Alex.
Welcome to Comics Evolved with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
And the three of us are back this week. Jarian's already chuckling to himself. What are you chuckling about, Jarian?
Because I didn't tell you I changed the intro to kind of fix that issue that we had about it cut off the intro, so I put the countdown and I saw you guys' faces on the side screen. Like, what's this?
Well, yeah, it caught me off guard at first. I was like, what is happening right now?
I really liked it. You said you was going to do it. I really enjoyed it. I thought that was great. So yeah, again, for anybody listening, for anybody that's watching live, as we said, we rebranded a couple of weeks ago. We're now Comics Evolved. And that's going to really come in to play over the next few weeks. We was talking, weren't we, guys, that there's a little bit of a down period, especially within Marvel content. So we're going to do a few rereads. We've got a few big story arcs that we'd like to reread ourselves and then discuss on the show. Hopefully we can, maybe bring some things to people's attention. Maybe if you're not comic readers, or maybe if you have been and you've forgotten about these particular stories, we're going to start bringing those up soon. But tonight or today, we're a day late. Some drama for myself and Alex over the weekend for different reasons, but we're here today, so that's good. We're here and we're live. We're going to be talking about Shazam, Fury of the Gods. I know I personally haven't seen it yet, which is fine, but I know Alex and Jarian have. So we're going to be discussing that movie. We're going to be looking at some MCU Marvel news. And we're going to be talking about what we've been doing over the last week, other than watching Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So, Alex, how are you, and what have you been up to?
Honestly, I haven't really been much of anything. Been up to kind of just working most of the time this weekend. I got to kind of sneak away for a little bit, get to go see Shazam, was a little bit surprised. They had some weird, flea market thing going on outside of my movie theater. So I get there and I'm like, why is there a flea market out front of my movie theater? It was the strangest thing ever, but kind of wandered through that for a little bit, and then ended up going and seeing that movie. But yeah, I didn't really do too much other than see that this past week. So
fair enough. Jaren, what have you been up to? You been up to anything, reading anything fun?
Took my son to see Shazam yesterday morning. Got an early matinee in, and then more just working on some of the update and everything for the branding change. And then I had to redid the intro a little bit to kind of fit it for when we go live. And now trying to get the podcast migrated to a new host. So that's fun. Awesome.
Well, I've not done a great deal. However, what I have watched this week is Tales of the Jedi, the animated shorts for Star Wars. Really, really good. Really enjoyed them. It was I didn't actually realize I'd enjoy it as much as I did when I started watching it. The stories are all centered around Count Dooku, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Ahsoka. But some really good stories and executed really, really well. They're only about 16, 17 minutes long each, the episodes. I think there's 6 of them, maybe 7, I'm not sure. But well worth a watch if you're a Star Wars fan. To be honest, actually, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, there's a couple of episodes in there that have done really, really well. The stories are fantastic. Emotions, stakes to the stories, to what's happening. But really, really good quality stuff. The animation's great. I love their style of animation that they've hit in Clone Wars and in Rebels. Rebels, and now in Bad Batch as well. That little style of animation is brilliant. I like it. It's kind of real, but it's not real enough to think to sort of go, oh, this is rubbish animation, but it's not animated enough. You can feel that they're human beings, or that they're people, not human beings, but you can feel that they're people. They're not just cartoon characters. So there's a nice balance between this kind of, they're not quite real, but they're real enough. So
it's really, depth really almost. It's like the characters have more depth, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy watching a cartoon. Mm-hmm. I enjoy watching a cartoon, but it's never as real, is it?
Mm-mm.
The stakes are never quite the same. Where I don't know. I think this style of animation, you can really see the emotions on their face. And I think maybe is that what you meant by the depth? Like you can see the
Yeah.
depth of emotions.
Yeah. Whereas like it's more relatable seeing it in like a live action setting than seeing like a cartoon. Like, you know, like I think back to a kid like watching Saturday morning cartoons, and it's like all the stuff that I saw in there, you know, like I would never really think any of that was relatable because it was all in cartoons, you know.
And I guess there's like a sliding scale, isn't there? So you've got real over here, and then you've got cartoon over here, and then sort of real, that's the states, that's where you really feel it, and cartoon you feel it less. And then I guess as the animation style changes, maybe, I mean that's not always true, I don't think that's necessarily a rule, but it's certainly something that I've noticed, and something I noticed about this, I guess. But some really fantastic moments in this show, and it's short and sharp, and you can watch it really quickly. We literally watched it over, you know, like 2 evenings, and the whole lot would only take you about an hour, I should imagine. But really good, really enjoyed it. And other than that, I've not really been up to much. Just getting a blown out tire yesterday, and getting stranded in the middle of nowhere. But other than that, it's all good. We're going to start with some MCU news, Jaren.
Yeah, I have MCU and DC news, and non-MCU and non-DC news as well. So, Agatha, the rumor is that it will set up the Children's Crusade for sometime in 2024 and 2026.
Okay.
So it looks like right off of Wiccan and the whole thing with that story that looks like that's gonna possibly set that up after we finish Agatha. Is it Covenant of Chaos still?
Yeah, I think it is Covenant of Chaos. Yeah,
yeah, because it was House of Agatha, wasn't it? Or
House of Harkness. Yeah,
House of Harkness.
Yeah.
Is it still the musical kind of ideal? Is it still going to kind of keep that?
Yeah, I'm not sure because it's changed names. They've added the other Wiccan here, and so the Jake Wiccan. So we'll have to see what happens with that.
Somebody on the group said the other day, I think it might have been RMC actually, and he said that, hopefully it hasn't. I know he's not a big fan of musicals anyway, but he said that, neither am I, if I'm honest, and I don't really want to see a whole show as a musical. I don't mind a musical element to it, like with Hawkeye, when they showed Rogers, that was fun, but you don't want to see a whole...
I want to see the whole Watchers musical. I love musicals, man.
I'd like to
see ones like that.
I can't see it, but I don't want to watch a whole comics, related show about it. But I think he picked up on it. He said, they've done one song in Agatha, in WandaVision, and it was like, oh, good, everyone liked it. Let's do a whole show about it. Like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the issue is, everybody latched onto it and it became super popular, and then it was like, hey, let's do something about it. And then it's kind of like, are we making this content because it's popular, or are we making it because there's an actual story that needs to be told with it? You know?
Yeah, that's right. But winding back to Children's Crusade, brilliant, great story, loved it, love that comic story, love where it leads, love the connections that it could have to the MCU, and we've all said it, haven't we? This Doom, getting involved with Wanda, and then the kids going to find her and her having amnesia. That's where this battle world fit. All these pieces are falling in, aren't they?
Just give me this shot of him running up on the bear.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Also, too, Mephisto special for Disney Plus. This is also a rumor. It will be filming alongside Agatha as well, and that Sacha Baron Cohen is reportedly playing Mephisto.
I think that makes total sense. To have that film alongside. It's one of those things where it's like they can link him to the Darkhold if they choose to do so in the MCU. They can link him to Agatha. They can link him to... Honestly, they could link him to the Hood, too. Yeah. I know Dormammu was originally like where that character kind of draws his abilities from, but they could even choose that character if they chose to. So,
back to musicals here. Jimmy from the group, she says, the musical episode of Buffy was so good, that's why others try them. There you go.
There's a musical episode of Scrubs, and I don't care how many times I watch that show. Every time, as soon as I get to that episode, I always skip it. Every time.
But you know what's the greatest musical, though? Is the Simpsons Planet of the Apes one. Have you seen that one? That episode?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I'm a big Family Guy fan. So they always bust into a big musical piece in Family Guy. Seth MacFarlane loves it. But I've got a confession to make. So I always make a confession on this show. One of my guilty pleasures in life was Glee. Was Glee, not necessarily being in Glee, watching the program Glee.
Grant Gustin was in that, right?
He was.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he was. And I stopped watching The Flash, which I think most people did.
Yeah, long
because
time ago for me.
Yeah, it was really good though, wasn't it? The first couple of seasons were great.
Yeah, I think that there was a point where early on, like, the Flash kind of spun off of Arrow. So after Arrow was kind of rolling, like, Arrow was doing pretty good, I think, the first few seasons, and then it just started getting kind of ridiculous. And then the Flash came out, and the Flash was doing really good, and then they just made all these, like, spin-off shows, and it kind of, like, over-depleted what they were trying to do, because they had all these, like, stories. It was like, hey, let's just yank this character in this week, and yeah, it would be kind of messy, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I did see. I saw a clip the other day of, I don't know who it was. It was just another baddie speedster. I'm not up on all the speedsters. It certainly wasn't Reverse Flash.
Was it red?
No, black costume with a red, almost looked like Batman's sigil on the chest. It
Was
wasn't
it the red lightning bolt with the bat symbol?
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah,
Red Death, I think, is what they did
right.
in the CW. Is
in the background, there was another character who was also in Glee, who was playing, I don't know, some other person, but they were in that as well. But there's quite a lot of people from that show that sort of pop up in different places. But yeah, Glee, good fun.
Mm-hmm.
To finish out the Agatha news, this all leads to the reason why Ironheart will come up before Agatha. A wider story is being set up, is the rumor. So
interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I can't really honestly even imagine where they're going to go with that.
Well, with the Hood and Mephisto and
That's what I was
possibly,
thinking.
all that kind of stuff, those breadcrumbs there, and, so...
I mean, do they just kind of, like, link it all to the Darkhold, even though it's kind of destroyed, I mean...
But is it destroyed?
But is it destroyed? Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Wakanda Forever news. Ruth E. Carter won Academy Award for Best Costume Design for the movie. She also made Oscars history, becoming the first Black woman to win 2 Academy Awards. And she took the same award home for Black Panther and Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think the environment lends itself to great costumes, doesn't it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just the visuals, everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a very there's that need for it. There's that need for them to look great. I mean, and let's face it. I mean, they had, the Moors people, the Talukan, and then you had the Wakandans. There's a perfect environment there to create some fantastic costumes, and she did. Brilliant. Good for her.
Definitely.
From the chat, someone's going Doom, and I think this is going to be in reference into Ironheart and Agatha and all that, and the Covenant Chaos stuff we just talked about.
Just shouting Doom is enough.
Yeah.
Which, I really hope that they lean more into Doom's magical side in the MCU, because I feel like in all the previous movies that Doom always appears in with the Fantastic Four, it's always tech. It's never really magic. So, like,
you wouldn't
lean
know.
heavier magic, like...
You wouldn't know, would you? If you've only ever seen Doom in movies, so in the 3, he's been in all 3 of them, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He was in all 3 versions. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Or all 3 movies. You wouldn't know that he had anything to do with magic, would you, really?
No, and imagine, like, Doom pops up, like, trying to deal with incursions, too, with Doctor Strange in a 3rd movie or something. I mean, like, that would make total sense, and it would be, like, right up Doom's alley. And I feel like that would be a great place to put Doom, because I just want to see him do more magical stuff, rather than, what he's been doing previously.
Quantumania news. So Marvel Studios has started legal processes to discover who leaked the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania script online ahead of the movie's release, because the entire script was pretty much leaked on Reddit. They filed a motion to have Reddit release the information. They request to a federal court to issue a subpoena to Reddit to get them to identify those responsible for leaking the 63-page script. At first, it was locked, so the Marvel Studios spoiler subreddit was locked by the mods, and now it's private. You can't even get to it anymore. So someone's in hot water, and they're trying to find out who did it.
I wonder what the punishment could be.
you'll just get sued into oblivion.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah.
You know,
But
like you just
surely you can't put anybody in jail for that, can you?
when you can't pay for being sued into
Oh,
oblivion.
well, yeah.
You know, like
As a consequence of not being able to pay. Yeah.
yeah.
Daredevil news. So filming has started. And an interesting location has shown up in the filming. They did some filming in Harlem. So I wonder if we're gonna get any breadcrumbs to Luke Cage in this series at all, with them shooting in Harlem.
Has Mike Coulter been talked about at all potentially?
Other than being in Instagram photos with Kristen Ritter, that's about it.
Okay.
But they're also friends too, so that could just be a coincidence.
Yeah. Interesting.
Also, too, Maya Lopez's Echo is rumored to appear in the series, which shouldn't be a surprise. They have history in the comics. Kingpin's in there. She's tied to Kingpin. We saw the events of Hawkeye, so there should be no surprise there.
Cool.
Does that come out before Echo?
I believe so. Yeah, I don't know.
No, it does. It's not supposed to. Echo was supposed to be this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be this year. I think Echo's done.
Yeah, Echo is done, but whether they're going to release that this year or not, I don't know. No, so yeah, Echo was supposed to be this summer.
Okay.
And Born Again is supposed to be next spring.
Okay.
So, but I don't know if in your news you've got about all the rumors about delays, Joe.
No, we talked last week about the schedule, the hypothetical dates for the movies and that kind of stuff. But there was some more stuff today where Secret Invasion might get pushed out further, but also too Loki might end up becoming before Secret Invasion. There's some chatter going around. I'm still looking to get some more information on it, but I've seen some posts out there about Loki coming before Secret Invasion being pushed out further. I'll probably have more to talk about our next episode because I'm still looking to get some more information on that.
Cool.
Across the Spider-Verse news, Amy Pascal on if Tom Holland is in Across the Spider-Verse. I'm not going to comment on anything around that, but I can tell you that Tom Holland does love these Spider-Verse movies. So
he's in it.
Yeah,
he's in it. 100%.
Yeah, there's all
100%.
kinds of chatter about crossing over to live action and that kind of stuff, and not just. I think last we talked about the convenience store lady from Venom's going to be in there. Now Tom Holland, and there was talk before about Miles Morales crossing over to the real world dimension and so forth. And I wonder if that's how we get Miles Morales or not. So something to keep an eye on.
I wouldn't even be surprised if we see Garfield and Maguire as well.
Yeah,
maybe not necessarily live action, but maybe, I don't know. But they're throwing the kitchen sink at this.
And I actually finally saw that trailer on the big screen too. We saw it yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was on the front of Shazam. And watching that online does not do any justice to seeing the movie theater on the big screen because that looks really good. Because you can see the more Spider-Man variants in detail too. So
well, and think about this too. When No Way Home came out, that movie made $2 billion. So they know putting all those three characters in a movie will just crush the box office. So it would be so smart for them to just be like, oh, look at what we also did in this movie too. And everybody would love it. So
yeah. I mean, can they mess it up? I don't think they can really. It's not the stage is set for it to be good. Do you know what I mean? I just don't feel like they can mess it up. But yeah, I think going back to your point, Najarian, about seeing that trailer on the big screen, it's a shame, isn't it? Because one of my local cinemas is supposedly closing down soon. They've just built there was a new one being built just before the COVID pandemic, and it's not actually opened up yet. So I think the people that were going in there kind of pulled out a little bit, and they were a bit non-committal about opening up a new theatre. And it's a common story, to be honest, isn't it? All over the world, a lot of theatres are closing down, and they're not as busy as they used to be. And it's a shame when you hear things like that. And then when you see things that should be seen in the cinema, and you're not seeing them in the cinema, you're paying. I get the comfort of your own home thing, but there's certain things that need to be seen on a big screen.
Yeah, I'm kind of lucky where we have one that's right up the street from me. It's like literally I can get there in 5 minutes from my house.
Awesome.
From ours, and we're lucky that they're actually updating ours. They're putting all new seats in. They're putting every row's got those nice recliners. They've got heated seats. They got the power recliners, that kind of stuff. Wider seats too. You got the table tray in front of you, so they're going through and refurbishing all of those. And I was actually surprised yesterday when we went and saw Shazam that it was a packed movie theater. But it wasn't adults though; it was all families. So it was like me and my son. You would see a parent and a child, yeah, or you would see an entire family. Like there was like one row that was all just one family yesterday in the movie theater, and the movie theater was pretty much, I would say, 85% full.
Good. That's good.
So, yeah,
that's good.
Thunderbolts news. Stephen Yeun on why he chose the role. It was more the story, getting to work with Jake Schreier again, who directed Beef, and what his intentions were. The intentions of the particular character they wanted me to play were very clear, and that's what drew me to the film. So,
any clarity on what that character might be?
He did not
any
say.
hints?
Yeah, he did not say. Yeah, it was all vague. So, but there's a rumor that there is going to be a Disney Plus Century special presentation that is supposed to be shot alongside Thunderbolts. So it almost sounds like they're doing these things like the rumor with Agatha and Mephisto. It's like they're taking that opportunity, since you already have everyone there, since you're already filming, is film a special presentation alongside it. And who knows if that's going to be a before or after Thunderbolts. I would reckon before, to kind of probably give us, the Century.
Bit of background. Yeah.
Yeah, background.
What if they did something kind of crazy, like they had Val send the Thunderbolts into Wakanda to try and take vibranium or something? The Thunderbolts are gonna like lose, and Val's like, "Oh, I got this secret weapon," and pulls out the Sentry and releases him, and then he just destroys everything. And then Wakanda and the Thunderbolts got to work together to take the Sentry down, and then they subdue him, and then that project picks up with whatever happens to the Sentry next.
That could be it. But do you think, though, that if Sentry came into Wakanda between Shuri and Namor, how that would go down? Because Namor pretty much, he can fly, he can, do a lot of this stuff, and you got Sentry and Wakanda's defenses. That would be a pretty interesting fight.
I feel like Val's intention there would be kind of like in Siege, where it's like, bring it all down. Like, that would be kind of like what she would be like with Sentry, which would be just destroy everything. Like, like I'm here because I want the vibranium and I'm trying to make a statement kind of type of thing. And yeah, I don't know.
It'd be interesting too that if they did a Siege type thing and he just wrecked Wakanda while Wakanda was being rebuilt, I wonder if they would like relocate it to Talokan, like somewhere in the Talokan region, not underwater, but above water in that same region, and kind of regroup their forces there between the Wakandans and Talokan.
Well, and it would put Namor in that perfect situation that he wanted, where one day Wakanda will come knocking,
relying on them,
Talokan, and it would be one of those situations like Wakanda just got, destroyed. Like we left, but like we need somewhere to go to protect ourselves because of this psycho. And Namor could probably, hold his own against Sentry and Siege. Yeah. So that would be like a very interesting thing to see.
And then he's got him in his pocket then, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And see, I've always thought it would be Doom to do that, not Sentry, but Sentry makes sense, especially with her tone in Wakanda Forever with Val and, her wanting vibranium. And so, yeah, I can see that happening.
Because the world's still not aware of Talokan after Wakanda Forever, because they still thought that the Wakandans were the ones that attacked that ship at the end of that movie. Yep. So, like, they're kind of underneath the radar right now. So that can be Wakanda's secret weapon almost against Val if they chose to do so.
So they do know, because I think when she bugged Ross, so she knows there's some new threat, but she doesn't know who or what the threat is from when they bugged the Shuri's beads that Ross had that he was communicating with the Queen with. So they know something's out there. They just don't know what. For all they know, that could be like a rogue Wakandan that has, that has the herb and another Killmonger, for example. But Ross, and interesting how Ross will play this, because we know at the end we saw Okoye break him out of the van. So I wonder, what kind of role he plays that if Val sees Ross back in Wakanda, if that's even going to make things worse.
You've reminded me there, Jarian, about something that really did bug me about Wakanda Forever. Apart from the thing that we've spoken about quite a lot, which we all kind of agree on, the Namor getting beaten at the end. But, we know that there might be more to that, which is cool. But yeah, the fact that Val managed to bug the beads, that really bugged me. Excuse the pun. That really got on. I was like, how has she managed to like bug really advanced Wakandan technology without them knowing about it.
Yeah,
And
like you
where
think
did
they
you
could
put the
detect
bug
it.
anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
It's
like, no way.
it's about like, you know, how she and Ross were married. It was just like, oh, of course, like, you know, like it just like,
Just
oh,
throw
that just
away.
worked out. Like, yeah, you know, like makes sense.
Of course we've been bugging them.
Or do you think she just so he bugged the beads, but his phone was really bugged? Because remember, he kept thinking like he was
maybe,
talking on his
yeah.
phone the whole time too, and him
And-
being in the government, there's probably a government issued device which they can probably
Yeah.
put stuff on there to do it. So that could make sense in that way.
And
If
he
that
did
was
have to-
bugged,
and he did have to put the beads like on the phone, didn't he?
yeah.
Mhm.
Put them on the back of the phone. Yeah.
I
maybe.
mean, like, I feel like at the end of that movie, I feel like that was Val's like attempt to try and get him out of the way for some reason. Like, you know,
Yeah.
she's trying to remove him from the board, trying to get him out of the way. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
Because she knows that he could be someone to warn Wakanda, or be an ally with Wakanda, and if she did something he got knows a window of, he would alert the Wakandans. So
Imagine if she sieges Wakanda and he's standing on the inside of Wakanda looking out. You know, be interesting. But
New World Order news. They'll be doing some filming in DC, and so remember, we're gonna have President Ross in this film, the last Captain America film, or not last one, but Winter Soldier. They were in DC, so you know, with some government stuff being involved and that stuff, it's not surprising that they're doing some more filming in DC.
Yeah. Makes sense.
El Muerto is back in the news. We thought this project was dead, but it's not dead yet.
oh no,
Yep, it's rumor has it, or not rumor. This is reporting. Reportedly, Ana de Armas is eyed for the female lead for the movie.
Ooh, that's interesting because I
Yeah.
like that girl. She's good. I hope that sounds silly. I hope they don't waste her on some unknown that's not really going to be used much.
Yeah, so we'll see where that goes.
is this only going to be like a one film thing? Is this like what are they doing with this? What are the plans?
I have no idea what Sony's doing.
Yeah,
Nobody does.
I don't think they know what they're doing. To be honest,
Have
sometimes.
you noticed too that Kraven the Hunter has been very quiet? There's been no promotion, no nothing on that movie.
When's it supposed to be?
I thought it was this year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I thought
think
it was
is.
in October, something
Yeah,
like that.
it will
October,
be.
November, or something like that.
So you would have thought they would have started that process now, wouldn't you? Really?
Yep. There's no
Now
chatter. There's no promotion. No nothing.
It just seems to be like chatter about the Spider-Verse movie, and that seems where it's kind of like, who knows? Maybe they're just trying to point it all towards Spider-Man right now. But
And isn't Spider-Verse like in November, or is that earlier?
I
The
think it's
summertime.
I think it's a little bit earlier. I thought it was in July. or
July.
something.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I had. July. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised in it if we get a Kraven trailer with that film.
Yeah.
Maybe,
So-
yeah.
Wakanda series. Working title is Golden City. Is rumored to be developed by Ryan Coogler as an animated series. So
Interesting.
that's one of the many Wakanda series that are rumored to be out there. Midnight Angels, Okoye, that kind of stuff. So
Will that be similar animation to What If? Probably.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. That I just didn't know if anybody had said anything or not, but it's interesting.
Did either of you guys watch, or have you watched the Animatrix?
Seen part of it, yeah, or some
Yeah.
of it, yeah.
I'd quite like to see some different styles of animation in the MCU.
Mhm.
Not necessarily. They don't have to necessarily be the same. They could be different, like the Animatrix. You know, they could kind of go, "Well, we're going to do this project about Wakanda." You know, take Sean Martinborough's work, who we had on a little while ago. You know, why could it all be sort of very graphic, very line art, black and white? That'd be great. I mean, I know you might miss some of the color in the costumes of Wakanda, but I think that'd be really striking. And then you could have other projects which had different animation styles that might really distinguish each project.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Be like that animated show for the boys. What is it, Diabolical? Like how they
Yeah.
do different episodes, like differently. Like they
Yeah.
do different animation styles and stuff. They could totally do something like that. Do one shots for each episode and make none of them link together. You know, and just try out animation styles. Make it a backdoor like way of trying out animation styles to see what's popular and stuff. You know.
Exactly. And if you go back to that Animatrix, there was I think it was like the last episode where they were fighting on a ship. It was like the beginning of that kind of really lifelike animation, 3D animation style. And we're talking 2001, maybe.
It's pretty good.
It's really good. Some of
Yeah,
that stuff
pretty
you go back and watch the one where they're on the ship fighting. It's like their practice, they're sparring. Really good to see the beads of sweat running down their hair and their stubble on their chin. Really, really great.
Michael Waldron, he has renewed his overall deal with Disney and Marvel Studios. So that's good because he's going to be tied to the multiverse saga a lot. In other news, though, Victoria Alonso, who's been executive there for about 17 years, has left Marvel Studios. She was a producer from the beginning in Marvel Studios. In the last few years, she was working on the VFX stuff. So she is now gone.
There's a shake-up going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I wonder if and all the stuff with the VFX industry and all the CGI stuff that they've had problems with, if that has to deal with it too as well. Maybe she just wants to move on and done, because 17 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is, to be fair. Maybe it's just coincidence, but it seems to me like there's a shake-up. There's all these rumours about delays. There's these projects that are supposed to be coming out that aren't, and there's
things
ones
getting slid around and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a shake-up going on.
I missed one thing back to Daredevil. There are some show props that show a 1999 flashback scene. So I wonder if we're going to go back into when a young Matt Murdock type thing, a younger Matt Murdock. So, Secret Wars is now rumored to be 2 parts. So
I think that's
surprised
good.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, agreed. I think that's a good thing.
Now, will that be kind of like, will those 2 parts be like a part 2 and a part 3 to Kang Dynasty?
I don't know.
I reckon unofficially, yes.
Yeah.
Now, will there be that same kind of lag time like we had between Infinity War and Endgame, where it was like they were really close, where it was like one was at the end of the year and one was like 2 or 3 months after the beginning of the year? Like, if they have 3 movies, that would be really hard for them to do. I mean, they'd almost have to pump out 3 movies in the same year,
But if this is 3 parts, though, it goes back. Remember a long time ago I said do Kang in 3 parts? I can't remember what I actually called them. I remember one was the Dynasty, one was Secret Wars, and one was something else. But yeah, or like the ones like the One True King Dynasty, or I don't remember what it was, but remember, 3 parts. If it is, I was like, wow, I feel like I called that if they end up doing 3 parts for the King saga there and the 3 big films. X-Men 97, we have a synopsis. Storm and Wolverine try to continue the X-Men. Magneto comes in and wants to step up for Charles Xavier. Sinister comes in to try to end the X-Men once and for all. Now, this synopsis is very revealing because this basically is going to start off the series where the original X-Men left off. Because remember, that came down to a big showdown with Mr. Sinister. So it's picking up right where things left off. So.
Awesome.
Sweet Tooth. Remember that one where the kids were developing into like animal parts and that kind of stuff, and Robert Downey Jr. is attached to that. Yeah. Well, season 2 will premiere on April 27th on Netflix. So
I never got through the first season. I watched the first couple and it was a bit strange, and I didn't adhere to it, if I'm honest. And then it kind of just it fell by the wayside. But did either of you finish it off?
Yeah, I thought it pretty good, and the way they did it, it does lead into a season 2. All the kids being hunted and rounded up and that kind of stuff, and then being experimented on. So it was something that I really enjoyed with my wife that we watched together, and so I'm really looking forward to season 2.
Awesome.
I feel like if that show probably would have been something like more in the format of like how Bird Box was, where it was like a 2-hour film or something, I probably would have been more invested. Yeah. But like I watched 2 or 3 episodes and I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Like I'm so bored. Like I'm not even watching anymore. Like like I'm just like on my phone and doing other things. So.
That's always the parameter for me. That's the parameter. If I find myself sort of looking down, sort of on my phone and not really interested in what's going on the screen, I'm like, I'm going to stop watching this because it's a waste of my time. Like, I might come back to it another time, but I don't want to kind of half watch it and then,
Yeah. Willow has been canceled after 1 season on Disney Plus. I never watched it. I never didn't watch it. So
no, I'm not surprised at that, if I'm totally honest. I saw something the other day and they said that there was probably only Warwick Davis knew that he was in a Willow project. Everybody, even the younger cast, didn't even know what was going on. I mean, I'm not. Like I say, I haven't watched it, but I don't. It was never really something that I was into back in the day, let alone now. So
We have some DC news. We'll start with the Batman 2. These are my notes for today that I didn't have my notes for yesterday, so but stuff came out today, so we're going to add it to the episode.
awesome.
The Batman 2, both Colin Farrell and Paul Dano will reprise their respective roles in the 2025's Batman Part 2, which shouldn't be a shocker that Colin Farrell is back because they're going to have the Penguin series on HBO Max, but Paul Dano coming back is a surprise.
I mean, they had that lovely little scene at the end of that first movie where him and the Joker like meet and they start interacting. So who knows? I mean, maybe he'll get a nice little scene where he'll be questioned. Like they had that scene they cut out with the Joker where Batman goes and talks to the Joker because he's trying to get inside the Riddler's mind. So he needs somebody kind of like him. So he goes and talks to the Joker to get inside his head to figure out the Riddler. And I think they cut out that scene from the movie. But I've seen it and it was pretty good. And I think they'll probably do something maybe similar.
Have you seen? See, I've seen. I still haven't seen that movie. I almost persuaded everybody to sit down and watch it the other day, but everyone was like, "Oh, we want to watch something different," so I missed out. But I have seen that scene, and I saw a proper dodgy, camcorder type version of it. Is there a proper version out there of it?
Yeah, I think there is a proper version. The one that I watched was like Batman goes in and the Joker's like sitting like in a little room, like being held, and then he goes in and not interrogates him, but like, basically just like pitches him softball questions and then hears his responses. And I think it was like 5 minutes or something. It was a nice little chunk like of actual time. And it was.
But was it properly filmed? Was it actual? It wasn't like filmed from someone's handbag, was it?
No. I want to say that this was like a deleted scene that they were going to include, and it was I want to say it was decent quality, but I remember I can't remember his name, Barry Conahan or something.
Conahan,
Conahan. He's the one who plays. Yeah, he's the one who plays the Joker. I remember he did put a weird kind of like spin on it, and it was a little bit different, and I kind of liked it. And then I think the only part that they really crammed in the movie was the ending where he meets the Riddler when the Riddler goes to Arkham. And I don't know why they chose to cut that little bit out, but I think it would have fit in really well.
A little bit of exposition, as we always say.
Yeah, I mean, 5 more minutes wouldn't have hurt that movie. Nobody else would have been upset about having to sit there for 5 more minutes and see the Joker.
It also seems like too. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that, what you said there, you're absolutely right. Like 5 more minutes for 5 more minutes' sake, 5 more minutes of another cityscape or where they could have cut 10 seconds out of something. Nobody cares about that. But that scene, you would have stayed another 10 minutes to watch that.
Definitely.
So it depends what the scene is. It depends what the time, how well you're spending your time in the cinema, doesn't it?
And it's the Joker. Anybody will watch, the thing with the Joker. I mean, it's just a very popular character. So,
yeah, and it seems like there's some chatter out there that a lot of people are clamoring for Mr. Freeze for the Batman 2 as well. But I don't know with Paul Dano and Colin Farrell returning if they're going to have enough space for all three of them in the movie. I guess it depends what role each one plays. I think Colin Farrell is going to probably be a big piece of it, being the Penguin. And maybe we'll see some of Paul Dano and Arkham and that kind of stuff. And just trying to figure out if Mr. Freeze does get added, where he's going to fit in the movie at.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on this too, because the first movie was kind of like, it seemed like Gotham was like almost just so corrupt, and it's like Bruce Wayne's like kind of getting through the beginnings of the corruption, like the police force is tied to the mob and all that kind of stuff, So like, I feel like we end up like with a third movie where he's like dealing with the Court of Owls, where he finds out that they secretly run Gotham and they've always known that he's been active and that he's the Batman, and he's basically got to save Gotham from the Court of Owls. Because I feel like that kind of fits in line with that first movie, like the build up to it. But I just don't know how second movie gets us there if they chose to put somebody like Mr. Freeze in.
If they stay with Colin Farrell and Paul Dano, I could see that building up to that. But yeah, Mr. Freeze, maybe they get some links to him. Maybe he's still a scientist and not, had the accident or any of that kind of stuff yet. So maybe it's breadcrumbs for the future. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
Superman Legacy, James Gunn confirmed via Twitter that he's going to direct it. We also have a
Yeah, I
synopsis
saw that.
for. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I saw that. I don't know
Yep.
if it doesn't make a lot of sense. Not that I know much about James Gunn and his different styles, but I know some of the styles that he has done, and it doesn't seem to fit a Superman movie, if you ask me. But then
He did Brightburn. That's
Yeah.
the one thing. He did
Oh, right.
Brightburn, which is like the evil Superman movie.
right,
It's a
yeah,
weird kind of twist on it. That's what I keep telling myself every time somebody tells me about like about him doing a Superman movie. I'm like, well, he did do Brightburn, and I
Yeah.
actually liked Brightburn a lot when it first came out. And I don't think it made a ton of money. I think it made like a few $1 million or something in the air. It wasn't like a killer, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, who knows? Maybe he'll do okay with it because, like I said, Brightburn was decent. I really liked it. So
cool.
We have a synopsis too for it. Superman Legacy tells the story of Superman's journey to reconcile his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as Clark Kent of Smallville, Kansas. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way, guided by human kindness in a world that seems kindness as old-fashioned.
Yeah,
Doesn't tell you a
so
lot.
like 1950s Superman is what they're going for.
The golden age of Superman.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, you know what'd be funny what James Gunn did though? You know that shot of the woman in the river, and you have Superman holding the tree, and then you have him holding Robin, Robin holding Batman, and Batman saving the woman. When Superman can just easily just fly out there and get her. I need to see that kind of shot from a Gunn film of Superman.
The only thing though is I don't know, and I could be wrong, but I don't know if at that point in comics if Superman could fly.
Okay.
I could be wrong. So every time somebody shows that, and like I'm always like, huh. Like, I don't know if Superman could fly yet, because everybody's always like, why doesn't he just fly and just take everybody away? I'm like, I don't know if he can, but at the same time, he could just be like, super strength and just yank them all back
Yeah,
over.
exactly.
You know? So, like, I don't know. But
Ben Affleck made some comments on if he'd direct for DC. I would not direct something for James Gunn DC. Absolutely not. I have nothing against James Gunn. Nice guy. Sure, he's going to do a great job. I just wouldn't want to go in and direct in the way they're doing that. I'm not interested in that. So it sounds like Affleck is more tied to the Snyderverse than what's going on now at DC.
Yeah.
So
it seems like with that Flash movie, it's kind of his way out when they reset everything. I feel like that's his bye-bye. Like, I'm done with this. And, you know, I just honestly, I don't think Ben Affleck really cares. I don't think it's like he really wants to actually. I don't think it's anything against James Gunn. I just think it's like he just doesn't really want to do any of that kind of stuff anymore. He doesn't want to be involved in it. And that's where it's kind of confusing because, like, back in December, I think it was, James Gunn was telling everybody that he had talked to Affleck. He was going to do a movie with him. He basically, like, trying to find that right project for him. And now it seems like he has no interest in actually doing it. So.
And speaking, go ahead.
It doesn't seem like Ben Affleck would want to get tied down. I don't think anymore. I think he's kind of, that part of his career he's done now. After, like you say, after the Flash, that's his way out. And I think he's kind of like, I'm done there now.
Well, and why would he want to get stuck in doing, like, I mean, he was Batman. I feel like for him, it's kind of like, if I'm not going to be Batman, I'm just going to be a director. It's kind of like, you know, like I was invested with that. And then I came back to it again after they decided to make the Snyder cut. And then they put me in this Flash movie. You know, it's kind of just like I'm getting slapped around here.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a mess. Yeah.
Yeah, so who knows?
What was I going to say? Oh, speaking of the Flash, I saw the Flash trailer on the big screen too. I'll tell you one thing: my son is pumped to go see that. So he's like, "We're gonna go see that, aren't we?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna go see that." Looks good though.
I'm not gonna lie. As much as like I kind of am rooting against that movie because I don't like Ezra Miller, man, am I kind of excited for that movie. Like, man, is that movie like it is. It's the trailer looks amazing, and one of my favorite scenes is that scene where they release Supergirl.
Yeah.
And she just like flies up, and it's like, oh man, like what, you know, none of these people know what just happened because they're doing that scene where, like, just like Clark Kent in Flashpoint, she's been trapped. She hasn't like gotten any of the yellow sun, so she's like weak, and then once she gets out into it, she absorbs it, and then she just goes nuts.
Yeah, that scene on the roof where you see Batman and he says something about "we have help," and he puts his hand up, and all of a sudden you see her just come bolting in to start taking people out. Yeah.
Yep, it's cool. It's awesome. I like it.
And that is all the news for today.
Awesome. Nice rounded news as well. We had a little bit of everything in there, which is what we're going for these days. So let's get on to the other main subject of what we were going to talk about today. Is Shazam: Fury of the Gods. We spoke about it a little bit last week and what we was expecting to see. And I know you two have both seen it. I haven't seen it. That's fine. Crack on. It's my turn to be live spoiled. What was the movie that you was live spoiled for, Alex? When we done it on
Shang-Chi?
Yeah, was it Shang-Chi? Yeah, it was.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was because I saw it like a week or two late. So
yeah, so let's crack on. I mean, I really enjoyed the first one. It was good fun, and I think actually, Jaren, you've already touched it, and I think Alex, you said your theater was the same, where there was just lots of families in there.
Mm-hmm.
But over to you two. What was your thoughts?
So I have some gripes with the film, but overall, I was confused going into the movie because the trailer, especially with the wizard coming back, especially with everything they set up in the first movie, it seemed like nothing connected to the first movie. But then going into the movie, they explained the wizard. He went to another realm. He really didn't die. The realm of the gods, I think he went to, where we saw Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren's characters and Rachel. I can't remember her last name. The three basically antagonists of the film, where they were from, and the whole thing with the staff breaking. I'm glad they rented that out because basically him breaking that staff in the battle in the first one basically broke the barrier that the wizard had set up to protect that realm from any of the gods coming back. So they did all that kind of stuff, and then the whole movie I'm sitting there, I'm scratching my head, I'm like, all right, we have the staff, we got the wizard, they closed how he's back, they closed all this stuff. So are we just going to ignore the post-credit scene from the first film? Well, the very last end-credit scene, boom, there's the guy from the first film. So
Mr. Mind.
Yep. So they tie everything well, nicely. I went in confused, came out satisfied. It definitely was a family film. It's like what Jason Bateman said in Dodgeball. That's some good, clean family fun right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the movie was. I do still think they missed some things. They should have the whole Black Adam thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. The Rock should have embraced being a villain with Black Adam. They could have had the Black Adam movie a little bit different. They could have probably made him the antagonist as part of this film, or part of the antagonist, before coming to help the group in this film. So they missed opportunity there. But yeah, there were some nice ties in the film too. What do you think, Alex?
So it was funny. I was actually talking to somebody about this, and I was like, they actually wrote this movie to where it writes out The Rock's character. And let me explain how they do this. So they make the staff that the wizard has the staff of Atlas, right? And this is from the Tree of Life. This is real heavy Greek influence.
The Daughters of Atlas, even.
The Daughters of Atlas. Atlas is a Titan. The Titans were the ones that came before Zeus, and, all of them took Olympus and everything like that. Zeus and that pantheon replaced the Titans. So anyways, so they do this interesting little thing where basically they have the staff become created, and then it takes the power of the gods. And the wizards basically absorb the power of these 6 gods, including Atlas, or gods, people, whoever. And they basically trap them in the staff, and it's what powers them up. Well, they say that this staff is directly the staff of Atlas, which is a Greek thing. So you have Black Adam, who gets his powers from a Egyptian pantheon. So unless he got his powers differently, he didn't get them from that staff. He couldn't have. So unless the wizards did something differently to bestow his powers, even in the Black Adam movie, they literally can just pass the ability on to somebody else, which is a little bit different than they do in the Shazam movies. So there's not a nice fluid mesh here between the two.
Yep.
And I feel with the JSA problem, and this is what I was trying to get to the other night, was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson didn't want the JSA, or excuse me, he wanted to be with the JSA, but he didn't want to be in the Shazam movie. So I think since he didn't want to be in the Shazam movie, the JSA didn't end up being in the Shazam movie, because if they would have been, then it was almost like, hey, The Rock is a part of the JSA now at the end of Black Adam. So now he needs to be in this scene, but it doesn't make sense because we're trying to get rid of The Rock right now. So it's this weird, mixed whirlwind of like stuff going on right now.
Yeah, The Rock missed a big opportunity, I think, with DC because let's look back. Who's a big actor like that from the past who was not really a bad guy, was always the good guy in movies, but embraced the bad guy role and made a huge franchise? Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Mhm.
Before the Terminator, he was always the good guy, right? Conan, those movies, that kind of stuff. He didn't really play that villainous role, right? He comes in the Terminator, plays the villain for the first one, comes back for the other ones, and is more of the good guy in those films, making a $1 billion franchise, a multi-billion-dollar franchise.
Mhm.
The Rock could have been our generation's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, I shouldn't say ours, depending on the age group, but yes, this generation's Arnold Schwarzenegger could have been The Rock.
Mhm.
All The Rock had to do was embrace Black Adam being a villain for that film, right? Going through that, being possibly the antagonist or part of this film for Shazam, before being their seventh person, and then teaming up to defeat whoever the villain could have been for this film, instead of going through the whole Daughters of Atlas type thing for this film. So I think they missed a big opportunity with DC. I think The Rock missed a big opportunity by not doing that. And that's why this movie does seem convoluted because of that. Because you can tell the first post-credit scene they did was basically Harcourt and the other guy from Waller's team, also from John Cena.
Yeah, the Peacemaker.
Yeah, Peacemaker. Thank you.
Yeah,
that guy.
I cannot think of his name.
Yeah, so you could tell that scene, and they invite him to the JSA. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
they invite him to be in the JSA, but the JSA is not there. It's just him and them, and then they walk off. So you could tell there were some disconnects there, but the best connects in this movie were how they tied things up to the first movie. I think the Wizard piece, the staff, how things came from. Everyone else in the Shazam family, the tie between their young self and their powered up characters was spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Who was not spot on? Billy and Shazam, right?
Yes.
I don't know what Zach Levi was acting in this film. Billy was great. Shazam, totally disconnected. Like, for example, Making Good and her character. You could just tell. And then we starts off, they're all teaming up on the bridge, saving people. She gets the cats first to save the cats on the bridge, then goes back and saves the humans, and then at the end of the scene, she has one of the cats she brought home with her.
Mm-hmm.
Later on in the film, they're talking about unicorns and this kind of stuff, and you can see the childish part of Megan Good embracing her younger character and how they have that connection. The unicorn part, where they use the unicorn to defeat all the demons and that kind of stuff, her with the Skittles, and Megan Good eating the Skittles early in the movie, and then she goes, as they're beating all the demons up, taste the rainbow MFers, and she yells that as they're riding unicorns. All the kids, even Freddy, Freddy and his, all the teenagers, they all were great, are connecting with their younger selves. Billy and Shazam, completely disconnected.
And I completely agree with you on that. And I kind of felt like that after the first movie a little bit. I actually like the supporting cast more than I like Zachary Levi in these Shazam movies. My favorite two of the Shazamily was it Darla, the one with the purple costume, and
the black girl,
and
Mary.
and Mary Marvel. I love those two, and I felt like in this movie, like a couple of them, like basically highlight a couple of the traits that they get from the Pantheon. Like they talk about how Mary Marvel is like always the one that they go to for answers. It's kind of like the wisdom of Solomon is kind of like that, And they have this weird joke where like Billy Batson's like, "What is Solo Man?" Like, like he's like the wisdom of Solo Man. Like I don't know what that is. Like, and it's like they all have these like certain little things. But one of the things I found most interesting is when his suit's getting burned and stuff in the final fight, and he's like doing the lightning and all that kind of stuff, his suit actually turns black.
Yep.
For a small point, and I'm like, it looks like kind of like Black Adam's suit for a second, and I was like, so like at the end of this movie, I'm like, so we get a JSA reference, a black suit that's kind of like Black Adam, like it's just weird. It just felt like it was. That in-credit scene kind of felt like a weird knockoff version of what we got with Waller showing up, threatening Black Adam, and then being like, all right, I'm sending in Superman.
Yeah.
Do you think that this movie suffered in with its connections because of when it's been released in regards to what else is going on in the grander scheme of things with DC?
Yes.
I think this movie made great connections to its first movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie, like, if you took those two movies and you just had them just like all by themselves,
Self-contained, yep.
it
And it
was
was nothing
it,
to do with DC.
it,
It would
yeah,
really work. Yeah.
it would be great. It'd be fantastic. The problem that I have with, I think this is, it's like they're almost like trying to do a little bit too much of, they don't know what they're going to do with the future with this character. So they're like, they almost like, they hit you with this like, oh, Shazam dies at the end of the movie, but then he comes right back to life. So they like hit you right hard, right in the feels, and then they bring him right back to life when they walk Wonder Woman out. And they're like, we need the aspect of a god to bring back Billy, or to give the power
The
to
power of the staff.
Yeah, so like, what do we do? And they're like, well, we don't have anybody, like, you know, all the kids are like, we don't really like have our powers, like, what do we do? Like, da-da-da. And Wonder Woman pops up. Wonder Woman's the daughter of Zeus. She's basically kind of like Hercules, I guess.
Yep.
Like, she's demigod, basically. So Wonder Woman's like, here, let me hold that staff. Wham, slams it on the ground, staff powers right up. And it's just like, there you go. Billy comes right back to life. It was a cool little thing that they did, because they take him and bury him on Mount Olympus, basically. Yep. It's a very cool kind of like tie to the Greek mythology and everything like that, especially to Wonder Woman. But I felt like that scene, as awesome as it was just kind of just like, it was great, but I don't even know what they're going to do with Gal Gadot now. I'm like, what is that? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like, does that mean she's coming back too? Like,
What does this mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if they would have kept Shazam self-contained like the first one, and kept this movie self-contained, they probably could have kept going on making Shazams and just keeping them a self-contained type thing. Because honestly, it's the most relatable one in DC for like a family type thing to enjoy together.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, the second one, and you know, back to my thing about Billy and Shazam, I thought they were better connected in the first movie, and I don't know what was going on in the second movie. But it was funny though when he was having that dream, when he saw the Wonder Woman silhouette, and it ended up being the wizard's face on her. Yeah. And the cool thing, you know, how they got Wonder Woman in the movie was basically they used the magic paper. So you have to actually explore their lair more in this film. How they make the lair more for themselves. You can tell their kids and with superhero powers and the things they do to the lair, that kind of stuff. Pedro's the inquisitive one. He's mapping out all the doors, you know, that kind of stuff. Freddy's going, you know, rogue and trying to be all, you know, suave and going rogue and that kind of stuff. But there's a part where they get to the whole, what's the pin's name?
Oh, Steve.
Yeah, Steve. There's a pin that is rights. You know, you can tell to do stuff. And we found out Pedro's using Steve to do his homework.
Right.
But yeah, but Pedro can help you, you know, send letters. And the way you do it is Pedro magic paper writes a letter. It flies off into a bird and goes to the gods. That's how they get in contact with Helen Mirren's character. But also too, you find out that Billy makes a comment, or Shazam does, about writing Wonder Woman, and that's how she ends up showing up at the end. You see the bird come in, she shows up with the bird, and that's how she comes in the post-credit scene or the ending for that piece.
They do this genius thing, right? Where like, so they do this thing where in the beginning of the movie, like, humor is a very like prominent thing, and then about halfway through the movie, it just flips. It becomes like a lot more intense. Like, like it's not really like funny anymore. And then they have this scene where just out of nowhere, I mean, I laughed about it for like 5 minutes. It's where, what is her name? Helen Mirren's character is like sitting on her throne, and she's reading the little like
the letter
that comes.
Yeah.
And so when they're writing the letter, the thing just notates everything that they say, but everybody in the family is arguing about what to say. So it writes all this down. So it's like she's sitting there reading, and it's like
reading an argument.
Yeah, so she's like, you want me to put this in the letter? Wait, what? What do you mean? Like, do we have any Gatorade? I don't know. Do we have red? I think so. Like, you know, and she's like, what is Gatorade? Like,
Yeah.
and it's just so funny and random as a nice little like thing that they threw in there.
Yeah, and so also too, what was interesting is that Helen Mirren ends up helping them in the end. The other daughter of Atlas, the younger one, Rachel, starts with a Z, I can't remember her last name. She's pretty much not evil the whole time. She's kind of not. She wants to bring the Tree of Life back, or the Tree of Life back. Was it? Yeah, in their realm, not doing anything to the human realm. All she wants is to get the realm restored. Same thing with Helen Mirren. Lucy Liu's character is more for vengeance. You know, she ends up being the bad one, the big, you know, bad at the end. They have to end up defeating with her dragon.
the wizard, when he like had taken the power from the gods and the other wizards had, they basically sat on the Rock of Eternity, and the Rock of Eternity was kind of like outside of everything. They actually kind of sealed the magical realm like off from the human realm, and when the staff was broken in the first movie, it basically severed that seal. And so I was a little bit upset the way that they were just like, oh, yeah, Billy just threw the staff away in the first movie and ends up in a museum, and that's how they get it. And
a museum in Europe, by the way.
yeah, like it's like, oh, it ended up in the trash and then ended up in like Europe somehow in some prominent museum. But I really liked what they did with like this whole thing where they basically have the sisters almost go at each other's throats in the movie. And it's very much like one of these things where it's like, it seems like something that would happen with gods. Like they would disagree and then they're all like at each other's throats. Like, we're going to do this my way. All right, I'm going to kill you if you don't do it my way, you know, like, and that's kind of what happens here. And yeah, you get kind of like, I think I made a joke about the dragon giving like Ragnarok vibes in this movie. But I'm not gonna lie, I loved that final battle scene. I really did, where they basically take the magical dome that's over the city that's trapping all these creatures and they shrink it up. And Shazam just fights this dragon and
in a stadium.
Yeah, in a stadium, and basically like causes such an energy release with the staff and saying Shazam that it basically just like explodes everything and wipes everything out in the stadium, and it's just all in rubble. And they find his dead body just like laying there in the rubble.
As Billy.
Yeah, as Billy. Because when he says Shazam, he turns back human. So part of it was he was trying to overload the staff with the lightning because the staff is like a battery, and he's trying to blow up the dragon and everything. And also put this really interesting thing where they basically, like, Wonder Woman acknowledges that there are no more gods really left in DC. That
Except
all
her.
the old gods, like, what, she's a demigod. She's the child of a god. And I love that little line Shazam throws out about, like, just because I have the power of Zeus, your dad, doesn't mean that we're related. Like, you know, like, and I'm just like, wow, that's so funny. It's so spot on.
Did you also notice too that that thing with that theme in the film was that he didn't think he was worthy of being Shazam?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the wizard's on him about, you know, breaking the staff and that he picked the wrong person. And then towards the end, that arc kind of finishes where, you know, he tells Billy he's worthy. He made the right choice. His heart was pure. Look what you did with the power, that kind of stuff. So there was that nice little arc there of Billy with the wizard and that kind of stuff. But the one thing too during that whole arc though is that they actually called him Captain Marvel in one of the scenes. Yeah. Yep. So they threw out Captain Thunder, I think it was, and then Captain
Everything.
Yeah,
and
Captain
Everything Junior.
Yeah.
And I think they even said Captain Marvel Junior at one point too.
Yeah. The one thing they didn't say though was Captain Marvelous, because Captain Thunder was the first name in the comics, right? Then it was Captain Marvelous, and then it was shortened to Captain Marvel in the comics. So I was hoping we'd have got all three of those names in that scene, but we didn't get it. Of the whole evolution of Shazam's names.
And when Freddy called himself Captain Every Power, I'm pretty sure he called himself that in the comics too. Captain Every Power. Like, all right, dude. Like, but I love the name that they got called in the news. The what was it? The Philadelphia
Fiasco.
Yeah, like it's so funny, dude. Like, this is like one of those movies where like the beginning of it starts off like, if you could do being a superhero the wrong way, this is these kids being like a superhero the wrong way. Like they get distracted by things. They're too busy like trying to like get caught like taking a picture, you know, like looking good on the news and stuff, like almost just typical kids trying to be heroes, you know, like. But I honestly think that this movie, at the end of it, you almost see, like, from film 1 to film 2, there's really, like, nothing changes in the background. They don't learn anything about their powers. They don't know anything new, really.
Well, I think they more come together as a team, though, by the end of this.
But, I mean, in this movie, Steve, like, has to explain where their powers come from, the Pantheon. And then they're like, well, okay, well, what does that mean? And then he goes down and, like, underlines each letter, and it's like Shazam. And then they're like, oh, it makes sense now, you know, like, and I felt like, you know, the whole kind of thing is you kind of see them actually understand what they are a little bit more in this movie, because like for the last couple of years, like they even make jokes about like, do I have medical powers? Do I have, like they don't even know what their powers really are, like fully, So it's just like they're just hoping something will happen when they try to do something sometimes.
Yeah, it almost seemed like this movie started off exactly how the last one ended. Other than them decking out the lair, nothing changed in that aspect. But did they change the Mary actress? Because in the first movie, was she two people in the first movie, or just the one actress for both roles?
So I was thinking about this too, because she in this movie was not two people. She was the same person.
Yep, the one person. Yep.
Yep. So I don't remember. I swear I thought it was somebody different in the first movie, but I could be very wrong on that. But the thing is they've got a very interesting situation happening with Zachary Levi and the kid that plays Billy Batson, because that kid is like a full-grown adult now.
He's
supposed to be 8. Yeah, he's supposed to be 18 in the actual like movie, like 3 months from the very ending. So it's like, he's gonna be an adult. So when he says Shazam at 21 years old, is he gonna say Shazam and turn into Zachary Levi?
Yeah, you almost wonder if they do make a Shazam 3, that if he'll be the same way a Mary was, right? Where he just gets the powers in the suit, but doesn't change people.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's also maybe, like, something to say, like, maybe it's, like, one of those things where the powers bring out, like, your best version of yourself, and maybe Mary's already the best version of herself, and maybe Billy Batson's not. And that's what Zachary Levi is. Who knows?
Yeah.
They can do all kinds of weird things. But yeah, they've got some weird issue down the road with what they choose to do, because when all these kids start growing up, like down the road, you can't have full-grown adults.
Yeah, just like if Darla gets older, does she replace Megan Good? If Pedro's character gets older, and who's the Asian boy's name?
Shoot, I cannot remember his name.
And I need to correct
Eugene. By any
Yeah,
chance?
Eugene.
Yeah.
It wasn't Pedro who went and did the whole knocking the doors. It was Eugene. Sorry.
So the girl that plays Mary in the first one is a girl called Grace Fulton, and she's the same actress who plays her in the second one. But it's
the young girl even.
The young girl. Yeah. So in the first one, she plays her as the child, but then an actress called Michelle Borth plays her as the superhero.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in the second movie, Grace Fulton plays both.
Both. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Cool.
So if they make a third, then they could basically have possibly Pedro and Billy play themselves. At least Billy, possibly Pedro, because Pedro was the third oldest, I think. So you could have him even play himself if he kind of bulked up a little bit, and if they did a third movie. Eugene and Darla would still be too young.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, that's going to be kind of, I feel like, the box that they're kind of painted in now, which is they have all these characters, and there's such, like, a diverse age range of, like, Darla's, like, probably, like, 8 or 9 years old. Billy's going to be, 18. Like, so, like, Mary in the movie was talking about, like, she should have gone to college last year. She's, like, 19. She's out drinking and doing stuff in the movie, so there's a big age gap between the front end of the Shazamily and the back end of the Shazamily, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And even Freddy could possibly play himself in the third, if they make a third film.
Or
be on the cusp. Freddy and Pedro might be like on the edge of the next film if they did a third film, but definitely Billy can play Shazam in the third film.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you see this fitting in anywhere to the DCU going forward?
I think based on the end credit scene, it has to, because it basically like says that that's the plan, to cram it in there somewhere. I feel like whatever the plan probably was with Shazam and Black Adam originally for those two characters is going to end up meshed together into one plan, and that's going to be probably like some sort of path that we end up with for Shazam here, where maybe one day, way down the road, and I've been thinking about this, maybe a third Shazam movie is somebody else recast as Black Adam versus the Shazamily, and they just give it some time, that way people get past The Rock.
So is Dwayne Johnson not doing it at all? Is he stepped down, or have they stepped him down?
I think they stepped him down. It's kind of what it sounds like. I think he was in one corner trying to push for one thing, and they were kind of like pushing back. Like it was just like whoever wins is somebody's going to lose, somebody's going to win, and whoever was going to lose was not going to, end up being happy. And that was The Rock, I think, in that situation, unfortunately.
So, if they do a third film, what about the doc, and what about Inchworm?
So they seem to set that up, right? Like, I mean, Mr. Mind's been in the first movie. He was in the second movie. He's gotten, 2 end credit scenes. He's just like a worm. Like, he makes this joke about, like, he doesn't have legs, so he has to scuttle around, and it takes
2
him a
years.
long time. Yeah, it takes him a long time to get anything done. And, like, basically, this guy is like, what is his name? Savannah was like,
Yeah.
I'm 58 years old. Like, I've been sitting here for 2 years. Like, what your plan is still in motion? He's like, yeah, it takes me a while to get places. But I think for that, I think they're going to push that down the road. I feel like he's probably going to end up maybe either linked in a Shazam 3, or they end up making, like, maybe him, Savannah, Mr. Mind, and maybe like a third character, like and you're gonna have like a group of villains versus the Shazamily in a third movie.
Because in the end of the first post credit, the worm said there are other gods, right? Or other. What do you say to him?
He says something like that, because the thing that Savannah had were demons.
Yeah,
they were the 7 deadly sins or whatever. So, and it's very much like what they did with Black Adam, where Sabak had the 6 demons linked to that crown. So, I'm thinking demons or gods is what they probably said.
Okay. I'm just wondering if they did close that thread with that could be the, a showdown from the first one back in the third film, possibly, if they don't do anything tied to Black Adam. But I completely agree. They could do a third film, have Black Adam be the antagonist in that film, but a different person as Black Adam.
I can tell you what doesn't match up. If you go back and you watch the first Shazam movie, and then you watch the second movie, and then you watch Black Adam, that scene in the first movie where they talk about there was once a champion, he made the wizards upset, and they basically banished him, and it's basically referencing Black Adam.
Black Adam, yep.
Yeah, it looks just like The Rock in the digital little like CGI scene that they show, but then it shows him like shoot a lightning bolt over, and Billy turns his head, and you see this like square building just get destroyed. Well, in Black Adam, it's a big round building that he destroys, and then it's like, it's not a big deal, but I'm just like, they can't even get like the building right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like the small things that aren't like even smooth with some of the continuity. And I don't know if that's The Rock's fault, or if that's just them not like really meshing, because it seemed like The Rock wanted to make his own movie with Black Adam. And the thing is that character is kind of linked to Shazam, so you can't just make him his own character and just act Shazam and keep Shazam away from him, in my opinion. So
he's the 7th champion, so
yeah. I mean, Black Adam was like Shazam's main villain for years. Yeah. I mean, the Marvel family and Black Adam were like a self-contained universe with each other for like the most part for like a long time early on. So,
and they could have done that in the DCEU or now the DCU and not affected at all. But again, they messed up. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wonder if Gunn and Safran will course correct, if they'll do a third movie. Or
depends how successful this one is, I guess.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have probably some questions that are going to be asked if this movie does not beat Black Adam, and then this like character is then like brought into the next phase. Like, if this movie goes out and it doesn't make $400 million or $500 million, and then they include Shazam like in the future of DC, I would be like, what? It's not that this is bad. It's just like, there's just not that. I feel like it's not as popular as like maybe they think it might be.
It doesn't seem like. I mean, I saw earlier on today they reckon it had a $30 million opening weekend. Mm-hmm. So I can't see that it's going to go on to make $500 million.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they could keep Shazam in, but have a different person as Shazam.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really think that. I have no problem with them changing out Zachary Levi, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of his. I didn't really like him in the first part. Like I said, I like the supporting cast more in the Shazam movies than I actually like Zachary Levi. I don't know why. It's just like, it's almost like he tries too hard for me. Like, like...
The disconnection. That's what it is.
he's more childish than the child. Like, you know, like, and I'm like, dude, like, it's like Billy Batson's kind of just like, like, can we have a serious conversation over here in this movie? And like, then he turns into Shazam and he's like, a dragon! Look, there's a dragon! You know, like, I want to play with the dragon. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, dude, like, he doesn't act that way, like, when he's like Billy Batson, but it's
So
like really weird.
Is it a bit of overacting, do you think?
Yeah, it's just like, it's almost like Billy Batson becomes more immature as Shazam than he does as a child, which is a strange kind of thing for me. You know?
It's like Billy, it's like Billy Batson reversed to puberty when he becomes Shazam with Zach Levi. It's basically what it looks like, because to me, it's just a connection. Because you look at all the rest of the family, Eugene, Pedro, even Freddie, you know, Darla and Mary, they all connect so well, and you can see there's that bond between those actors when they're young kids versus when they're superpower Shazam. You see that there with them. You do not see that between Zach Levi and the Angel kid. I can't remember his first name. His name's Angel. Asher Angel. Thank you.
So they actually do this funny thing where in the movie, I actually thought that they were going to do that, like I was talking about, where they highlight their special, like, you know, unique, like, abilities or traits or whatever. Darla kept on acting like a speedster, like, and I noticed in one scene, Darla's standing there and she's got these little, like, she's the only one out of the entire family who has it on her costume. Very similar to, like, Namor's wings on his feet. She's got metal wings on her boots. I was like, oh, I love that, because it's like, it's kind of like a nice little tie to Mercury, who's Roman god, but that's where they get the speed from, is the speed of Mercury. So, you know, like, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Kind of like how Hermes has little wings on his feet, you know, kind of. So, nice little touch that they do there with the costumes and everything. So,
awesome. You finished?
I mean, we can keep talking about it, but it ain't gonna get any better. No.
Yeah, it ain't gonna get any better.
Well, I gotta say, I'm encouraged, and I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. Actually, I'm not going to expect too much, but it sounds like it was an enjoyable movie.
I actually liked it better than the first, because I think the problem with these movies is the tone, and I just can't deal with just like a childish tone the entire movie, because it gets really like weird when you have like a childish tone and you have something serious happening. And it's like, you know, how do you have a child like deal with something childishly, but it's a serious situation? It's a very weird kind of like conundrum that you're caught in there. And so in this movie, when they did that, like I said, that weird like tone shift where things got really serious in like the second part of this movie, I was like, I like this movie a lot better than the first one, in my opinion. But,
well, it seemed more balanced. I agree with you. It seemed more balanced because the first movie, it was all Shazam, Zach Levi, Billy Batson stuff, right? You got the Shazam towards the end. This movie, you had the whole family toward the beginning from the movie, or from the beginning of the movie. And it seemed more balanced, which, like I said, between the characters. I think having that made this movie better, because if it was just all to Zach Levi the whole time, it probably would have been worse than the first movie.
The first movie was like a Shazam movie. It was all about Zachary Levi. This movie was like all about the family, which it wasn't about just him. And honestly, like, me not being a big fan of him, love that, because like I want to know more about the family and see more of the family than I want to like him as Billy Batson, you know. So
the Fast and the Shazam.
Yeah.
Well, he made a Fast and the Furious reference in this movie.
Family.
Brilliant.
But it was good to see, one last thing. It was good to see all the kids how they're growing up too as well, and how they're coming into their own. And then even with the foster parents too, and all that whole dynamic there. So
I'll throw one more thing out there. I loved how when they were like, so who wants their powers back, is what Billy says at the end when he gets the staff and it's got the powers and everything. All the kids raise their hands and the dad's like, you know, throws his hand up real quick, like, I'll take some powers too. And I think Billy's like, can we do that or something like that? And the Wizard's like, sure, why not? Or something, you know, like, who cares? So
give anybody powers.
Yeah.
Whoever wants them. Brilliant. It's been a nice rounded episode tonight, guys. We've spoken about loads of stuff: Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Shazam. Awesome. Great job. We'll be back next week.
Actually, we won't be back next week.
We won't be back next week.
Nope. Remember, next week I am out of town.
Yeah. And we have no man in a chair. So we're going to be having a week off. So we'll come back with a bumper episode the week after. I'm sure we'll be having a comic reread in there for you. Some loads of news and a good catch up.
Yep, 2 episodes of Mandalorian, or probably by that time 3 episodes of Mandalorian to talk about.
Yeah.
I need to
So-
get so caught up on Mandalorian. I don't even know if I finished season 2, to be honest. I'm so far behind on Mandalorian.
This last episode was really cool. So yeah, it'd be good to have a chat about that actually. Yeah. Jarian, where can they find us?
You can find us on YouTube, on Twitch, on Trovo, all Comics Evolved. The Facebook page is Comics Evolved, which links to all of our groups. Comics Evolved, Marvel fans, DC fans, Star Wars fans, and Twitter as well. Along with
Awesome.
Instagram also. That's just Comic Evolved because we couldn't get Comics Evolved on that one. For you people on the podcast, we are migrating from Buzzsprout to Spotify for the hosting for that. So I have 3 episodes out there in draft right now. Once the migration is complete, they'll be posted. Anywhere you follow today, Apple, Google, anywhere else you consume the podcast, that's all going to be redirected automatically. So you should see new episodes there without having to do anything. Hopefully that'll be done here the next day or 2.
Amazing. Great job. Alex, Joan, it's been a pleasure as always. Take care.
Have a good night.
You guys.